Okay, ladies. So I just went ahead and uploaded part one. So I'm working on part. Well, this is part two. So anyway, at the hospital or whatever, once we had her the next day, husband shows up, and when he shows up, he just acts like nothing happened, and I'm really drained. I'm drugged up, and he looked really drained to me, like he was just, you know. And I remember him sitting, and he said, "Babe, can I have my ring back?" And I forgot I had his ring because when you in the hospital, they ask for all your jewelry and everything back. You put it in a bag and stuff. So I had to take my nose ring off, earrings, and the rings and stuff. And so I just went ahead and gave him the ring, and I didn't even question him. I guess I was so drained, I didn't even ask him what was that all about. And so, I told my mother, because my mother stayed with me in the hospital the whole time. But I told her, please do not judge him because, I don't, just please don't judge him. And she said, okay, she won't because she knows it's my husband and I love him. And so, anyway, after that, the next day, one of the owners that I work with on the side or whatever like that, he showed up. My in-laws was there, and my husband was acting really strange. He wasn't acting himself to the point that I had to ask him to go and get me a cup of water because he wasn't himself. And then when the guy I work for, the owner, when he had left, then my in-laws was talking to my husband and saying, you need to interact. This isn't right. And, this, that, and the third. So they noticed that too. So anyway, that's fast forwarded, okay? Because my mother stayed with me. I remember when my husband's supervisor had showed up, to see the baby. She showed up at the hospital too. He just looked so drained, and he said, "Babe, I'm gonna just go home." And I said, "Okay." So I walked him out in the hallway, and I said, "Baby, whatever you're going through, I just want you to know that I love you very much, and I'm praying." And I held him on by his hand, and he just broke down crying. I knew something wasn't right, but I still couldn't pinpoint what was going on with him and his moods and everything and why it was happening. So anyway, he goes on home, and I'm feeling really bad for him because I'm like, I know something's going on. So anyway, when it was time for us to go home, um, I had my car. My mother had her vehicle because she drove to the hospital and parked her car. She stayed there the whole 3 days in the hospital with me. I had the car up there, but after you get a C-section, you can't drive home. So the plan was is that my in-laws was going to bring my husband up to the hospital. He was going to drive the vehicle home with me and the baby, and my mother was going to follow. Well, anyway, I text my husband, and I'm like, "Hey, babe, what are you doing?" He said, "Going for a jog." Last time he went for this long 4 mile jog or whatever, and I told him it was too far and for him to be, careful. For some odd reason, those last couple of weeks I have been really checking up on my husband, trying to make sure that he hasn't been out of whack, should I say. And again, I wasn't putting two and two on why all of these things were happening. Tiffany, she's like, I don't want. So anyway, so anywho, after all of that, yeah, I'm so tired. Anyway, so after all of that, I'm just so tired, y'all. Come on, let mommy burp you. Let mommy burp you, pink in time. Pink in time, move. So after all of that, Jesus. Okay, so what was that? So after all of that, I call my husband. He tells me, when he texted me, told me he was jogging. Then when I called, he said, "Hello." The police gets on the phone. And I'm like, "Hello?" He said, "Ma'am, he basically asked who am I to him. I said his wife. He asked me was my husband on medication. I'm like, why? And he said because he was found on the back of a utility truck and he was kneeling down, and I think he was praying on the back of the utility truck, but he seems to be coherent and all this other stuff. And he asked me, was he on medication? I said, no, he's not on any medication. So I tell him, hold on. I call my father-in-law on three-way. My father-in-law shows up, and but before we get into all of that, the day that my husband was kind of like not being himself, a bill collector calls, right? And the bill collector calls the hospital, and or not the hospital, calls my husband's phone, and my husband whips out a card, and all of a sudden, I'm like, well, who are you talking to? He wouldn't tell me. I said, who are you talking to? He's going like this. I'm like, who are you talking to? He would not tell me, y'all. So he's giving these people our card number, his card number over the phone. And I'm like, who? We got a joint account. I'm like, who is that? He wouldn't tell me. Well, the card didn't go through because evidently the amount was like $950 or something, and we had less than that, and so it didn't go through. And I'm like, who was that? Come to find out, it was a bill collector for some X-ray bill, in which I already explained to them that we were going to make payment arrangements in August. Plus, we got bills and stuff to pay. Like, why are you? Come on now. So I was really upset with him because now you giving people, random people, our money, and you gave him my card, and so I had to lock his card down and get a new one sent out. His mother came in and was like, what's going on? And I told her that, and she was like, honey, don't ever give nobody your card information. And even my father-in-law was concerned after that, asking me maybe I should shut the account down. And I was like, no, I just went ahead and shut his card down and got them to send a new one out. So anyway, fast and forward to when he was jogging. So bottom line, I called when the police was on the phone and everything, I called my father-in-law. My father-in-law hears it, and bottom line, he says he's on his way. Bottom line, my husband had to go through evaluation. So while I'm in the hospital with her, he's in the hospital too. And so I'm just like, Dag. So I'm crying, and my mother's like, why are you crying? And I told her what was going on with Matthew, and me and her, we said a prayer. We said a long prayer, and then after that, me and her, she drove my car home. My sister-in-law then in turn picks her up and takes her back to the hospital so she can get her car. So I'm home. My in-laws come in. They tell me everything that was going on with my husband and how he didn't want to eat. But it was crazy. As soon as he comes in the house, he's like, I'm hungry. But when they try to buy him everything, he wouldn't eat anything. But when he came home, he was like, I'm hungry. And I was thinking to myself, I wanted to say you a-hole because I'm like, Dad, your parents were just trying to buy you something. You didn't want to eat anything, but you walked through the door like, I'm hungry. Hi, baby. And so, anywho, so after all of that, my husband still started acting really still manic. Like, I didn't even know it was manic. It was like he was just overly hyper, like overly posting things. He would get up in the morning, he'll go downstairs and be on the drums. He'll be downstairs laying, sleeping. He'll be wanting to do this, wanting to do that, just fiddling. And I would tell him just to be still, like, be still, babe. And he was doing really good with Symphony. Like, when I would breastfeed her and stuff, I'll give him a little job. Like, yeah, I give daddy a job to burp her. And he was doing really, really, when I tell y'all, he was doing really good. And he would give her back over to me. And then it got to the point where he'd be like, I can't do that right now because he's going jogging and stuff like that. I'm trying to fast forward this so y'all can understand where I'm getting to. So he was on the drums and he'll be on the drums in the morning, going jogging in the morning, and just all of this other stuff. Anyway, there was another thing too. I hadn't had a break since I had her. I'll be on site doing my little part-time job. And when I say part-time, it's like really, really part-time job. And like a favorite type part-time job, but I'm still getting this or whatever. So anyway, I never had a break because I would always go on site. I'll probably get somebody else to drive, but I'll be sitting in the back seat with her, and I'll go on property just to deal with some of the tenants, and then I'll get out of there real quick. So, what's wrong, baby? Yeah, baby. So I like when she go, So, anyway, I asked my husband, could he go with me? And bottom line for him to sit, in the car or whatever. He said, okay. So we drive to the property, and I was only going to be like maybe because I was dealing with a real horrible problem tenant, and I was only going to be like 25 minutes. So I'm on site dealing with this problem tenant, dealing with the owner, and then I walk to the car, and lo and behold, he's reading his card out. And I'm like, babe, who you reading the card to? He didn't want to tell me. And I'm like, who are you reading the card to? He did not want to tell me. And so I'm like, please don't tell me he's giving our money out. Please. Come to find out he did. And this time, the money went through. So I'm mad. And I'm like, you want to pay bills, do you? Like, you just threw them. Because I go over our budget and everything. And he didn't have any reason why he did it. It was just the random time. He was just thinking that, a man is not supposed to own anything. He's just started to become like this Bible person that, all of a sudden I got to pay all my debt. I got to do this. I got to do that. I still couldn't put two and two together. So we're driving home. I'm in the back seat. At first I wanted to drive because I knew this is not him. My husband doesn't just randomly pay money, especially when he knows that we have this budget and whatever, right? So y'all follow with me. So anyway, I'm on the phone. I'm a little upset. Really not little. I'm really upset because he just took a whole lump sum of our money when we got all of these bills and all of these things is coming up. And he knows I go over our budget. So we pull up to the house. He gets out of the car. He takes the key, takes his bag, and he goes around and walks in the car. And I tell him, babe, please give me the keys. He would not give me the keys. So he walks in the house. Usually he would jump in his truck and go to work, but he just walks in the house. And then I'm in the car with our daughter, and he walks in the house. So I go in the house, and I get the spare key, and I jump in the car. I lock the doors. I'm on the phone with our bank, and yeah, they went ahead and said, yep, that money is gone. So I'm pissed, right? So I'm like in the car with him trying to pretty much fix the things that he did. I'm locking the car door because this is just not him, and I'm about to get out. So as soon as I roll out, he comes out of the house, and he gets behind the vehicle. I can't even move the vehicle because he's just standing right there. And I'm trying to, at first I was backing up, but I was like, I'm not even going to do that because things can happen. The foot can slip, and I don't want to hurt my husband. And I don't know why he's doing that. So he just stood behind the vehicle. I don't know why. He's never done that before. He's standing behind the vehicle like he doesn't want me to leave. And I had the car door locked, so I'm fine. Then all of a sudden, the car door becomes... All of a sudden, I hear click, click. I forgot he had the original keys. He unlocks the car door, and he takes our daughter that's in her car seat. He takes her out. When he takes her out, I'm like, put my daughter back in. He wouldn't. Put her back in the car. He wouldn't. So as soon as I get out the car, me and him, we are in the house, and then I'm like, put her down. He wouldn't put her down, had her car seat up in the air. Now we're tugging back and forth with the car seat. Tugging back and forth with the car seat. And so... when he wouldn't put the car seat down and I was worried about her safety, you know what a mother would do, right? I'm not even going to say it on camera, but you know what a mother would do. So, immediately, because my dog ran over there and he jumps, Solo's jumping up, like telling us to start arguing. We're pulling at this car seat. And, immediately, like I said, mama bear mode. Next thing you know, my husband gets on the phone and says, he calls 911 and says he fears for our daughter's safety and his wife just assaulted him. Yes, honey. I was like, he just called the police on me. He just called the police. Oh, sorry, Bulletin Cam. Okay, that's what you want. You want your binky? Want your binky? You want your binky, bink? He just called the police on me. Couldn't even believe it. So I go on the couch. I'm sitting down. I'm crying. And because I'm so upset because of everything, all of these events that just happened, and my husband just calls the police on me. He lies and says that he feels for our daughter's safety, and I just struck him. So I'm sitting there, and I'm breastfeeding him. He comes over like here to put this around me before the police come, and I'm like, no, I don't care who sees, because this is our home. I'm going to breastfeed our daughter, and you just called the police on me. I just can't believe you just did that. Anyway, police come. They see that everything is, they see me breastfeeding. I tell them everything was going on. He tells them everything that's going on. And before that, when he called the police on me, I called my mother-in-law. Y'all, that was the worst mistake I ever did. I should have never called my mother-in-law. But because they saw my husband's behavior, I thought that they would understand. The worst, y'all. The worst. If you are married, I'm going to tell you one thing. Call your side of the family maybe, but do not call them in-laws, okay? Because I'm going to tell you what happened after this. I'm going to tell you why everything is the way it is. Yeah. So anyway, I couldn't believe he did that. My mother-in-law and them, they were out of town, so she told me to call my sister and everything. And bottom line, after the police had left and stuff, I go upstairs, sister-in-law come over here, then my brother-in-law comes over here, and we telling everything that had happened. And then he's steady sitting up here trying to make me out to be this bad tyrant. And I couldn't believe, like, this is not the same person that I mean, you're just really going on me like as if I'm just such whatever. And then after all of that, when my sister-in-law leaves and my brother-in-law leaves, my husband looks at me and says, I'm going to sleep. And he lays on the couch. I get my daughter, go in the car like I was going to do anyway, back up, and I go to the bank and take the remainder of the money out because I didn't know what he was going to do because he's on this splurging thing now. Okay, that's fast forward. After that, me and Symphony, we're laying in the bed, and this is a couple of days after that because we also the following day we went to counseling, which we only went one time, and the counselor couldn't understand it because the counselor was like, well, what happened before the 26th of July? And did y'all have any problems then? We really didn't have any problems, but I know he can see that there was some things in my husband that was not all the way there because my husband kept bringing up scripture and this, but not really trying, and I had to tell him what happened, that he lied to the preacher, this and the third, but okay, that's fast forward or whatever. My mother and my father-in-law comes into town. And now they really want to know what went down now. So we tell them we're fine. We went to counseling and all this other stuff. You know, my father-in-law going to say, oh, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. What do you mean? We just said we went to counseling. Everything cool. They had their little cards, like their little cards, and we need to learn communication, this, that, and the third. And I thought, okay, cool. You know, we can learn communication and stuff. But Matthew's behavior hadn't been the same. It just was not the same. So, anyway, they would come over in the afternoon, and I know they really wanted to see their grandbaby, but they would come over, like, you know, bringing food. We're going to have y'all to eat, and then we're going to kind of, like, watch Symphony while you're eating over here. So it's like we'll sit at the table like they're in another room and watching her. I don't, you know, whatever. So, anyway, me and Matthew hadn't been on good terms. I wouldn't even say good terms. He was still acting real funny. And so when my in-laws came over, you know how you can see a glass door, like our balcony sliding glass door. He's talking to his parents and everything and was just whatever, doing all of this other stuff. That's not his behavior, okay? That's just not him. And my in-laws are like, and I'm like, what are they talking about? So when I go outside, he says, this conversation is over with. And they all look away and look down. And I'm like, what's going on? So we at the table, and I'm like, I'm grown. So I look at my husband, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, boo, you know I love you, right? And then he's looking the other way. I'm like, you know I love you. I said, is there anything you want to tell me? I said, because I'm grown. I mean, anything you say to them, you can say it to me in my face. I'm your wife. And then he says, well, you already know because you've been going through my phone. My husband had his phone connected to the iPad, so when he would message people, I would see it on the iPad. I mean, yeah, I'm not one to be digging for certain stuff or whatever like that. So evidently, he was thinking that I was fishing around or whatever. I don't even know. I don't have time. Girl, you don't want that thing because you keep kicking it out. So anywho, fast forward it or whatever like that. So I asked his parents, I said, is there anything you want me to tell me about Matthew? Because his moods have been fluctuating up and I said it in front of my husband. His moods have been fluctuating up and down. He's hyper, he's this, he's that, he's, you know, like what's going on? He's emotional. I remember one time he told me to meet him at the door, and when I met him at the door with our daughter, he was just bawling, crying. I mean, not even crying. He showed me the painting that I did, and he was like, you see this painting? My wife can do this painting whenever she wants, and he's crying, and I'm like, oh baby, that's sweet. And I'm just wondering, like, dang, he's so over emotional. What's going on? So anyway, yeah. So anyway, after all of that, fast forward to all of that, in the morning time, we still in the bed, just got up. Husband comes upstairs and he's like, hey babe, and bottom line, what he did was he was already talking about that he didn't want to go have the Bank of America account anymore because he found out that Bank of America does Planned Parenthood. So he was saying that he didn't want the bank, and I said, well, we can discuss that. So anyway, I have found out that he went and opened a new account. He opened a BBT account. And I'm like, well, I hope you're going to put my name on the account. Well, I know you're going to put my name on the account. Well, that morning, he came in and he told me the things that he said he was going to do, like put my name, and we're going to go together to get a new account with BB&T. The NVAR dues for my real estate, I'm going to be able to pay. All of that other stuff that we discussed in the budget. When he came up that morning, he told me he wanted me to clean all of the bathrooms, in which I already do. I clean up everything around here. He also said, oh, he's not going to put my name on the new BBT account. I said, yes, you are. He was like, nope, I'm not putting your name on the account. Oh, and we're not going to pay your NVAR. It was just like, what have you done with my husband? And why are you telling me to do all of this? Oh, and I was sitting trying to complete the remainder of my hours, because with real estate, every 2 years you have to complete 16 hours of continuing education. And I was using the computer. He said, oh, yeah. And after, to make matters all worse, because I was like, I'm not going to touch it with a 10-foot pole. I'm not, because it just seems like it was a setup for him to argue. The last straw was, and I want the computer. And I'm like, no, babe, I need the computer today because he had the iPad. I need the computer today because I have to do my continuing education. He like, no, I need it. I'm like, I need it. So when I went to, oh yeah, another thing he says before that is, because another thing, oh Jesus. Another thing he did, because when he wiped the other account out clean or whatever, and remember I took the money out, well, I ended up giving him the money because one of my good friends was like, Mona, he's still the head of the household. And so when I went out and got that money from the bank, I still went ahead and gave it to him. I was like, fine, whatever you wanted, then go ahead. And so anywho, he going back to the computer, whatever. I tell him no, I needed it. And before he said anything about the computer, I'm still in the bed. He says, "Did you check your email?" Because he asked me, "What did I spend at the liquor store?" And I'm like, "What is he talking about?" Because he went online. And remember the account that he pretty much left with nothing. Well, he put $30 in my car, which he's never done that before. I've always filled my own car up with gas, but he put $30 in the car. And then what he did was, I told him, I need some money in that account. You took everything out of the account. And then he said, okay, he put $40 in the account. But when other stuff go in and snatch your money out, where it left me with $12 in the account. And I told him everything else came out of the account and it snatched. And now it left me with $12. And so what he did that morning, he was like, what did you buy at the liquor store, this, that, and the third? I went to go visit one of my girlfriends that was in D.C. And if you ever been to D.C., around certain spots, it's only like you getting chips and stuff, it's the liquor store. I only bought $6 of stuff. First of all, y'all have to understand, I've always went over our budget, handled thousands and thousands of dollars in our account, and now I am subject to $6, and now my husband's questioning everything, putting gas in the tank, and it was just like, what is going on? Like, why are you doing this? So then he comes and said, are you going to answer my email? Are you going to answer my text message? And I'm like, what text message? He sends a text message to his mother, his father, and me, saying, I know I'm just in the other room, but your anger is just so, let me see if I can find it. Your anger is just so overwhelming. We cannot pay your NVAR dues, your license. We're going to have to put it on hold because that costs $1,000, and it's which is only $600. It wasn't $1,000. And then your anger is this. Plus, you've been riding around with our daughter, and the reason why our daughter is sick. First of all, she wasn't sick. I got up in the middle of the night because I thought she was choking. And when I went downstairs to tell Matthew, he was just like, get away from me, get away from me. Like he was acting really like he didn't even want me to sit next to him. And I was like, dang, still didn't put two together. I was thinking, dang, he being a jerk. Like, what's going on? So anyway, I couldn't believe he tried to text all of that. Oh, bless you, bless you. I really hope she's not trying to catch nothing. Lord knows. And so anyway, I'm trying to hurry up and explain all of this real quick, okay? So anyway, after all of that, it's like he sent a text to his mother, his father, talking about some daggone liquor store and you buying liquor while you're driving around with our daughter, better yet, or worse yet, you're buying it for your friends. And I'm like, I ain't even gonna answer that because I'm too tired. No, that wasn't the case. And he kept asking me, what did I get? And I'm like, whatever. But anyway, going back then, all of a sudden, he wants the computer. And I'm like, no, I need the computer. So when he went to reach across, I went to push his hand up. He gets on the phone. I said, I know you're not calling the police on me. He says, Mom. He says, no, not Mom. He says, Dad, get over here now. Mona just pushed me. And I'm like, what is going on? Yeah. So he didn't call his dad, and I'm like, this is just not happening. So I'm like, please get away from me. Please just move. No, no, no. And so he started whipping his phone out and recording it. Like video, not video, but voice recording it. And I whipped my phone out and started video recording him, recording me. I mean, y'all, it's when you look at it, it's really like tit for tat, stupid stuff. So, anywho, Lord, what is it going to stop? I'm trying to hurry up and explain it to you. I'm almost done. So, anywho, he wouldn't leave out the room. I said, you called your father. Just please go in the hallway and leave me alone. He wouldn't leave. I got my daughter in the hands. Then he says, no, I'm not going anywhere because he's trying to say I pushed him and I didn't. Then he says, I'm not leaving. Uh-oh. What's going on? Then he said, Then he says, I'm not going anywhere without my daughter. And I'm like, oh, no, now we're going into another level because I'm not going to be sitting here trying to tug and wool back with a baby and you doing whatever. So I was like, no. So anyway, at this point, he wouldn't leave. He wouldn't leave. And I said, please leave. Now, because I'm like, something is really not right now. So then when he tried to reach across, because I said, please just leave, he wouldn't leave. He's still recording. I'm still recording. And then when he went to reach across, acting whatever, I called the police on him. Now you know. So anyway, the police show up, y'all. I'm in bed. Okay, I'm still in the daggone bed, and the police are in the room, and then Matt's outside. My sister-in-law's here. My father-in-law is here, and the police is here. And bottom line, he ended up taking the computer. When they told me that he wasn't, he took it anyway, trying not to give me the code or trying not to connect the code. He was just doing petty stuff that I never seen him do before. Anyway, my mother-in-law calls me and tells me that she thinks that for one day it would be good for my husband to go over to her place and just to give me and the baby room or whatever. And I said, okay. Well, that one day ended up turning into 2 weeks. And I'm like, where's my husband? But while he was over there, I started to really think about everything and all of the stuff that was going on. And, I was throwing up because my husband wasn't here. I was missing him. I didn't understand. Now he's not answering his phone, and he started to do weird things. What I mean he just wasn't answering his phone. He wasn't answering the text, and then he sent me something saying, because I called my mother-in-law. Was like, what's going on? He's been over there, and what's the plans? He sent me an email saying my plans, visitation / separation. And I'm like, what is he talking about? So I didn't even respond back to the email at all. So y'all know I went from like visitation / separation. What is he doing? I'm telling his mother, like, I got a baby over here. He changed the accounts recently. Like, what's going on? Like, I want my husband back. And then he wouldn't speak to me. The only way I was able to speak to him is pretty much through my mother-in-law. When I first called her, she was like, he's doing good. I made him some breakfast, made him some dinner. He went jogging today. And, at this point, I'm like, I don't care. Because at the end of the day, I can't do nothing on this side. What's going on? But then I also started to put 2 to 2 together because while I'm praying and everything, I'm like, the Lord revealed to me that the bipolar has come back. No wonder why his moods was changing, him going up and down and everything. People was telling me, like, when he had the breakdown in the church, that he was that was his breaking point. And so I'm just like, now I know what's going on. So I reached out to my mother-in-law. I told her what was going on. I reached out to my father-in-law and told him what was going on. But anyway, let me go back and revert back to the email that he said, visitation / separation. And now I'm just like, what did he mean, separation and visitation? What's going on? He says that he's going to pay all of the bills up until October when our lease runs out, and then we can review things from there. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is pretty much September. Wait a minute. And I'm like, we'd never even gotten to no huge arguments. These are things that are just surfacing up. And now I'm crying, I'm losing weight, I'm throwing up. And I'm like, my husband won't even let me speak to him. And then he tells me, I'm sending him text messages. Baby, I love you. We miss you. We need you. Please fight for us. What's going on? Tell me, what did I do? Why are you leaving? Y'all, I sent him everything. I sent him scriptures. I sent him photos of me and his daughter. And I'm like, we need you. We depend on you. What's going on, babe? Please come home. Like, we can work it out. And then it wasn't until later on that the Lord revealed to me that, Mona, remember what he had when you first met him 4 years ago? Because I was up here looking at narcissistic behavior and all of that. And the Lord said, remember. And I was like, bipolar. That's what has been going on with my baby. He's been up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, just up, down. But anyway, while he was, I never answered that email that he sent because I'm like, I'm not even going to feed into that. Next thing you know, while I'm calling out and wanting to speak to my husband and everything, I get an email. What happened? No. Next thing you know, because I'm praying and praying and praying, and my husband's still posting things on his Army Armchair, whatever, about the gospel and everything. And I'm like, how can you be sitting up here doing Bible study when you're treating your wife this way? I'm just like, this is not it. And at that particular time, God didn't reveal to me that it was the bipolar. So anyway, I'm texting my husband back and forth, right? Texting him back and forth. And I'm like, baby, I love you and I miss you. I'm even trying to suck up and even apologize for things I didn't even do because I just want my husband back home. I want us to be a family. I just want us to be a family again. Okay. All right. So anyway, after that, he tells me that, no, you hurt me. And I'm thinking to myself, I hurt you. And he's like, anyway, don't text me no more. And be out of the house between 10 and 11 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, be out of the house? I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. I told him I'll go in the next room, but I'm not going to be out of the house between 10 and 11. So anyway, I'm a little upset because now he's not answering any of my text messages anymore. And so, I'm in the house by myself, and I'm talking to one of my girlfriends on the phone, Marissa. And, Chicago is a 1 hour difference from us. So anyway, she didn't get off of work until 4 o'clock, and I try to hang with her on the phone until about 2:30 in the morning, but I told her I'm going to have to just go to bed now. So anywho, while I'm laying in the bed, I hear a knock at the door. And I'm like, and I got to tell y'all too, it was something else that happened before then when he came upstairs and it kind of scared the mess out of me. But anyway, I hear a knock at the door and I'm like, hello? Because I'm thinking this is not the house door. And Solo, my dog, would have sound off, but this is not the house door. And he said, babe, it's me. Can you open the door? And I'm like, okay. So I called my friend on the phone, Marissa, because y'all know around 4 o'clock in the morning, if it's 4 on this side, it's 3 on that side, and she's still working. So I got her on speakerphone, and I was like, because I texted her and told her that Matt's here. So I put it on speakerphone. He walks in, he goes in the closet, he's taking his clothes out, go over there, he's taking his clothes out. He walks over and he gives her a kiss on her forehead for about a long time or whatever. And then, he's all telling me to come downstairs. First of all, he had on all black like he'd been out, his little jogging outfits. 4 o'clock in the morning, right? He tells me to come downstairs. And I'm like, no. He asked me to get my stuff and bring it downstairs. And I'm like in the bed with her. And I'm like, no, I'm not going downstairs. It's dark down there. Nope. So he's like, come downstairs. I'm like, no. And so then he was like, well, help me look for my other shoes. And I tell him they under the bed and this, that, and the third. And then he's like, you don't think we should... Then he was like, let me see your phone. And I was like, no. I guess he wanted to make sure I wasn't recording or anything. And he was like, let me see your phone. And I'm like, no. And then he tells me why. And I tell him because I'm on the phone with Marissa. As soon as I say that, he straightens up. Then he's like, well, can I spend time with my daughter? Because, most fathers want to spend time with their daughters. And I look at her and I look at him. And because he was like, can he spend time with her? You can come up here all you want to, but you want to take her downstairs when she's sleeping in the middle of the night and something's not all the way good. I was like, no, she's sleeping. You want to be up here, okay, whatever, but no. So he says, "Hi, Marissa," and she says hi, and then he basically says, "I hope you're giving my wife wise counsel, because she acts like she's afraid of me," or something like that, of that nature. And then he asked me, "Do you think we should have a separation?" And I'm like, "No." So he gives me $60, and then he heads downstairs. And I'm like, "Baby," he was like, "I'm just following him. I'm following God. I'm following the King." And so he says something on that. And then he also says, too, that you have a history of postpartum depression in my family, talking about my sister. So, anyway, he leaves out, and that was the last time I seen him in a while. But there's more to it, y'all. There's more to it. So, this is 35 minutes right here. Let me upload this video. This is part 2 of Tell All, and I'm going to go into part 3.